The desert moon was quiet, just dust, rocks, and endless wind. Micah, a human engineer, walked alone, scanning the ground with a worn-out device. He was there to map old mining sites. Nothing special. Just a job. Just silence. But then, his scanner beeped. Faint. Strange. Alive. Micah frowned and adjusted the signal. Energy source detected. Organic. Low. He looked around. No ruins. No trees. Just a patch of cracked stone and soft shifting sand. He stepped forward and froze. He heard a voice, very quiet, almost a whisper. "Help me." Micah blinked. He turned in a full circle. No one. Nothing. Then he looked down and saw it. At first it looked like part of the rock. But under the layer of dust was skin, pale, smooth, and shimmering. Micah dropped to his knees and started digging with his gloves. Sand poured away. Stone chipped back, and then he saw a face. An alien girl, eyes closed, lips cracked, her long silver hair matted with dirt and wind. Her legs were gone, or so he thought. He dug lower and gasped. Her legs weren't missing. They were fused into the ground, merged with the desert stone, like someone had melted her into it on purpose. Her eyelids twitched, then slowly opened. Golden eyes, glowing. She blinked, tried to speak. Micah leaned in. "I'm here. I heard you. What happened to you?" Her voice was dry, weak. "They buried me." Micah's blood turned cold. "Who?" She tried to raise her arms, but her wrists were covered in strange metal rings. He saw lines carved into her skin, glowing softly like they were alive. "Don't call them," she whispered. "Don't call the patrol." "Why?" Her eyes focused on his. "Because they're the ones who did this." Micah stood up, heart pounding. This wasn't just some accident. This was a punishment. Someone had made sure she couldn't run, couldn't crawl, couldn't even die. And she was still alive. Still conscious. "How long have you been here?" he asked. Her answer made his chest tighten. 5 years. Micah stared at her in shock. 5 years in the ground? She nodded once. "They said if I spoke again, they'd bury my mind too." Micah knelt down again. "Who are you?" "I was called Zira." He reached for his comm. "I can get help." "No." She grabbed his wrist, weak but firm. "If they hear my name, they'll finish the job." Micah looked around. The sun was starting to fall. The sky on this moon turned, blue-purple at dusk, beautiful, but cold. She wouldn't survive another night alone. He pulled out a blanket from his pack and draped it around her shoulders. "I don't know what they did to you," he said, "but I'm not leaving you like this." She looked up at him. Golden, eyes shining in the fading light. "No one ever came before," she whispered. Micah gave a small, sad smile. "Maybe they didn't hear you," I screamed. "Then maybe," he said, "they didn't care." He touched the stone around her. Legs, it was warm. Alive. When he tried to chip a piece, it hummed and his hand began to go numb. Zira winced. "It's part of me now. Biocement. It binds to nerves. If you force it, it takes pieces of me with it." Micah pulled back. "That's cruel." She looked away. "It was meant to silence traitors." "Are you one?" I spoke the truth. "That doesn't sound like betrayal." To them it was worse. Night settled in. Micah lit a small campfire beside her. She hadn't moved. Couldn't. But she looked warmer now. Less like a statue, more like a person. More like someone who had waited a very long time. She watched the flames. Then she whispered, "Why are you helping me?" Micah looked at her. "You're alive." He paused. "And buried." Zira closed her eyes. The wind blew softly, and for the first time in 5 years, she felt seen. The fire burned low. The stars above were quiet. Micah sat beside the strange alien girl, her legs still fused into the ground like living stone. He had tried to sleep, but every time he closed his eyes, he heard her voice again. They buried me because I told the truth. She watched him, not afraid, not angry, just tired. Too tired for someone so young. He handed her a cup of water. She took it with shaky hands. Her fingers were thin and marked with strange gold lines that pulsed slowly beneath the skin. Thank you, she whispered. Micah asked, Do you want to tell me what happened? Zira looked down at the cement around her legs. It didn't look like stone anymore. It looked like part of her. I was born in a city that floats above the clouds, she said softly. My people are proud, cold. We don't touch. We don't cry. She closed her eyes. I was part of the royal bloodline. Not a princess, but close enough to be watched, trained, controlled. Micah stayed silent. He didn't rush her. Zira continued. I saw things I wasn't meant to see. Children taken. Whole villages erased from the maps. My uncle said it was for balance, for peace. Micah frowned. And you spoke against it? I went to the council. I begged them to stop. I thought my voice would matter. She smiled, bitterly. It did. She looked him in the eye. That night they took me, cut my legs. Didn't kill me, no. That would make me a martyr. Micah's fists tightened, so they used this. She tapped the stone with her knuckles. Biocement, smart material. Once it bonds to your nerves, it learns your pain and feeds off it. Micah's voice was low. You were alive the whole time. I felt every season, every wind, every sandstorm. I counted stars to stay sane. He stared at the stone. It's evil. She tilted her head. No. It's tradition. Micah stood and walked around her, studying the material. It pulsed gently where it touched her skin, like a parasite too comfortable to let go. You said it was alive? Zira nodded. And worse, it listens. Micah blinked. Listens. To thoughts, to fear. It tightens when you panic. It hardens when you try to fight it. Micah stepped back. That's why you told me not to rush. She gave a faint nod. The more afraid you are, the more it feeds. He looked at her face, so calm, so quiet, like someone who had learned to survive by not feeling at all. You couldn't run, he said quietly. No, she replied. Not even once. Micah sat again, staring into the dying fire. He wanted to free her, but every part of him said it would take more than tools. She watched him. You still can leave, she said. He didn't answer. You found me by accident. No one would blame you. He shook his head. I won't walk away from this, Zira whispered. They will come, Micah. When they find out you touched me. Then I hope they bring good boots, he said, voice firm, because they'll have to drag me off. She looked at him, really looked, and something inside her softened. Just a little. I dreamed of someone like you, she said. Micah turned to her. Yeah? In my dreams, you always ran away. He gave a small smile. I'm not the dreaming type. The fire went out, but the bond between them had lit. Faint, but real. She still couldn't move. But for the first time in 5 years, she didn't feel completely trapped. The sun hadn't risen yet. Micah knelt beside Zira in the cold sand, holding a dull cutting blade in one hand and a small scanner in the other. He looked at the stone around her legs. It wasn't normal. It moved, breathed. It had no seams, just smooth gray wrapped around skin, almost like it had grown from her. Zira said nothing. She just stared into the dark sky. I brought tools, Micah said, unsure. She gave a small nod. Then listen to me, very carefully. I'm listening. The stone, it remembers. Micah blinked. What do you mean? It's not just alive. It thinks. It's part of an old system. A punishment made by my people a long time ago. She pointed to the rings still wrapped around her wrists. They called it the chorus. Every time you resist, it learns your rhythm. Then it sings back. Sings, pain, memory, fear. Micah touched the stone. It was cold, but then warm, then cold again, like it was breathing. He put his scanner to it. The screen lit up with symbols, not human, not even digital. It looked musical, a map of vibration and light. What am I looking at? He asked. Zira whispered. Its voice. Micah tried the cutter. The blade hummed, touched the stone. Then, flash, the air trembled. A high-pitched tone rang out from the cement like a metal scream underwater. Zira jerked back, crying out in pain. Her legs glowed, her face twisted. She bit her own lip to stay quiet. Micah dropped the tool, heart racing. I'm sorry, she breathed hard. You can't cut it, you have to calm it. Calm a rock? Zira looked at him, eyes wide. You must not fear. If you fear, it wins. Micah swallowed. Hard. He sat back, breathing fast. The blade had barely touched it, and already it had punished her. The chains weren't just physical. They were emotional, psychic, made to keep someone silent from the inside out. Zira looked. At the horizon, the moons were fading. Dawn was near. They'll come soon, she said. My people patrol these lands. They left me to rot, but they'll kill to keep me buried. Micah said nothing. He looked at the scanner again. The symbols had changed. The stone was listening, learning him. He stared at Zira's face. Even in pain, she looked steady. Still, but her hands trembled slightly. Are you afraid? He asked. She didn't answer. Not with words, just a slow nod. Micah stood. He picked up the blade again, but not to cut, to draw. He moved it across the sand, carving simple lines, not symbols. Rhythms, left, right, tap, circle, pause, a pattern, like a song. Zira watched, confused. What are you doing? Trying something different, he said. You said it listens to rhythm, right? Yes. Then I'll teach it mine. He placed his hand on the stone again, and this time, he didn't try to break it. He just tapped. Once. Twice. A pause. Then again, like a heartbeat, like a whisper. He breathed. Steady. Thought steady. No fear. The stone didn't scream. It hummed. Soft. Low. Zira's eyes widened. She felt it, a small shift beneath her skin, a change in pressure. Less pain, more warmth. Micah looked up. This isn't just cement, he said. Zira nodded. It's a prison with ears. He gave a half smile. Good. Then let it hear something it's never heard before. For the first time, Zira leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered, You don't fight it. You teach it who you are. The moonlight was sharp and silver. It painted the desert in soft shadows and quiet warnings. Micah worked slowly beside Zira, digging carefully around the living stone that still held her in place. He didn't use the blade anymore. He used rhythm. Tap. Pause. Breathe. Touch. The ground didn't scream. The cement didn't fight. It just hummed. A strange, low tone like something ancient listening in silence. Zira stayed still, arms folded, head resting against a blanket Micah had tucked behind her. She watched him work, and watched the dark too. Her golden eyes flicked toward the horizon every few minutes, he noticed. You keep looking east, he said. They always come from that side, she replied softly. Who? The ones in white masks, enforcers. They patrol at night. They say the light hides truth. The dark reveals betrayal. Micah glanced toward the east. Nothing yet. But he felt it too. That cold tension, like being watched by something that doesn't breathe. He knelt lower and reached under the edge of the stone. This time, it didn't resist. You're doing it, Zira said. Micah smiled. I don't even know what I'm doing. You're listening, she said. No one ever did that before. He looked at her. You speak like a leader. I spoke once, she said. That was the problem. Zira's eyes dimmed slightly. I gave a speech, just 30 words, in front of the council. What did you say? She hesitated, then said quietly, I said silence is no longer peace if truth must die for it. Micah froze. That's what got you buried? She nodded. Truth is dangerous to those who lie for a living. Micah didn't respond, but his digging slowed. Not because he was afraid, but because he was angry. Not loud anger, quiet, deep, cold, the kind that changes people. Suddenly, Zira stiffened. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Micah, don't move. He froze. What is it? She looked toward the rocks. There. He followed her gaze and saw it, a small red dot blinking across the sand. A drone, low, silent, watching. Micah ducked beside her. Zira whispered, It hasn't spotted you. Yet. He glanced at the blade, then the comlink in his pocket. Should I call for help? If you do, they'll track the signal. And come for you too. He looked at her. I already made that choice. Zira stared at him. You knew helping me meant death? I knew helping you meant something. They stayed still. The drone hovered, then slowly turned away. Micah exhaled. Zira shivered. He pulled his jacket off and gently placed it over her. I'm sorry, he said. For what? That your world did this to you. She closed her eyes. And I'm sorry yours sent someone like you. He smiled faintly. You don't mean that. I do. She looked up at him. You don't belong in this part of space. And you don't belong in the ground. The night stretched on. He kept digging. She kept breathing. Both quiet. Both waiting for dawn. Not just to survive, but maybe, just maybe, to rise. The wind changed before the sound came. Zira's eyes snapped open. Micah had just started another careful tap beneath the stone when she whispered sharply, They're here. He looked up. From the east, lights moved between rocks, slow, wide, beams searching the dark white masks, long cloaks, heavy boots, enforcers. Zira's voice was flat, hollow. They don't ask questions. They don't speak. If they see me free, they'll kill us both. Micah stood, heart pounding. How did they find us? She didn't answer, but her hand trembled. Micah reached for her, then stopped. She was breathing too fast, her jaw clenched, and then the ground around her legs pulsed. A low vibration moved through the stone. The cement glowed blue under the surface. Micah stepped back. What's happening? Zira's voice cracked. It's waking up. The enforcers were close now, less than 50 meters. Micah grabbed a flare. His only weapon. He turned back to Zira, but she wasn't looking at them. She was looking inward. Her lips moved. Words Micah didn't understand. Old powerful. Suddenly, the cement cracked. Hairline fractures raced across the stone like lightning across glass. Zira screamed. Sharp, primal, full of years of buried pain. The enforcers rushed forward, their weapons aimed. Micah shouted, Wait, don't! Too late. They fired, but the blast never hit. Zira raised both arms. The air rippled. The sand exploded around her in a perfect circle. Every enforcer was knocked off their feet by a soundless shockwave. Micah fell back too, shielding his face from the wind that came from nowhere. And when he looked again, Zira was standing. Her legs were still wrapped in broken stone, but she was upright, floating inches above the ground. Her eyes, no longer gold, now blinding white. Her hair lifted like smoke. Her voice echoed, not loud, but deeper. Not one voice. 2, 1. Hers one older, colder, wiser. I begged you to stop, you answered with silence. Now, hear my answer. She raised a hand. The broken pieces of stone around her rose with it, spinning like a storm. The enforcers tried to run. but the wind pinned them in place. Micah stood frozen. He had seen weapons. He had seen war, but he had never seen this. This was not rage. This was release. Zira stepped forward. The ground didn't touch her feet. She passed the enforcers without a word. The storm followed her. Sand lifted. Rock cracked. The moon itself seemed to shake, and then silence. The enforcers lay unconscious. The wind died. The light faded, and Zira collapsed. Micah ran to her. Her body was burning hot, but she smiled, barely conscious. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know it was still in me." Micah knelt beside her. "What was that?" She looked at him, eyes soft again. "That was what they tried to bury." Dust settled over the broken desert. The enforcers lay unconscious in the sand. Their white masks cracked, their weapons scattered. Zira was free, but she wasn't standing. She couldn't. Her body trembled. Her legs, what was left of them, hung limp below her. The biocement had cracked, yes, but it had taken too much with it. She tried to rise. Her arms gave out. Micah caught her before she hit the ground. She looked up at him, weak but calm. "It worked," she whispered. He nodded. "Heart aching, but it cost you," he said. She smiled faintly. "All freedom does." Micah pulled off his pack and placed it in the sand. Then, without asking, he slid one arm under her knees, one behind her shoulders, and lifted. Her weight was light. Too light. Like someone who had been buried more than just in stone. Zira didn't resist. She let him carry her for the first time in 5 years. She let someone bear her pain. They moved quickly, not toward the outpost, but into the ridge valleys, hidden paths Micah had seen on his scanner. More enforcers would come, and now they had something to protect, something precious. Zira rested her, head against his chest. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "For what?" "For being heavy." Micah laughed softly. "You're not. You are shaking." He looked ahead, face hard, focused. "Not because of you, because of them." They reached a cave entrance and ducked inside. Safe. For now. Micah placed her down gently on a bed of soft moss. He checked her wounds, what he could. Her legs were torn, glowing faintly under the skin. More metal than muscle now. Nerve lines exposed like roots searching for soil. But still, she was alive. Zira whispered, "You should leave me. Run. You've done enough." Micah didn't reply. He walked to the mouth of the cave, set a small signal beacon on the rock and pressed it. A green light blinked. Then he turned to her. "I didn't come all this way to do enough." Zira blinked, confused. "You sent for help?" "Yes." "Who?" "Humans." She laughed once, weak but real. "We were told your kind never gets involved." "I didn't either," he said, "until I saw what they did to you." Outside, clouds began to gather. Storm winds shifted, but Micah stayed beside her, keeping watch. Zira reached for his hand. He gave it to her. Not afraid of her touch. Not afraid of what came next. She looked into his eyes. "What happens when they see me?" she asked. "When they know what I am?" Micah didn't flinch. "Then we let them choose." "Choose what?" He squeezed her hand gently. "To look away, or to help the next one who's still buried." The ship landed quietly. No soldiers, no lights. Just a small medical transport with a clean flag on the side. Human Relief Corps. Micah walked out first. His jacket was torn. His face was tired, but his eyes burned with purpose. Behind him, on a stretcher, lay Zira, awake, alive, watching every step. They took her in without questions. No cuffs, no restraints. They didn't treat her like a weapon, just a survivor. And for the first time in her life, she didn't expect pain when hands touched her. The doctors scanned her, rebuilt what they could. Her legs were too damaged to heal with skin and bone. But they offered something better: reinforcement, mobility, control. Zira said yes. Not because she needed to run, because she had somewhere to walk into. Weeks passed. Zira recovered faster than anyone expected. She stood for the first time on new legs, strong, graceful, designed not to bind her but to lift her. Micah stood by her side the whole time. He didn't cry, but his silence said everything. Then came the message. The Council of Nine Worlds had heard whispers about the girl who rose from stone, about the storm she released. They wanted answers. Zira said yes. The hearing was quiet, broadcasted across systems. Millions watched. She entered the chamber with no guards, no armor, just her voice and her steps. The room fell silent as she reached the center. Some stared at her legs, silver and silent. Some stared at her face, calm, unreadable. But she didn't blink. She faced the council and spoke. My name is Zira. I was born to a sky city. I was buried in silence, and I was left in the ground because I dared to speak. You may not believe my story, but you can no longer say you didn't hear it. The silence broke into murmurs. Questions followed, accusations, fear, but she answered every word, not with fire, not with rage, with truth. And the truth was enough. Later that day, Zira walked onto a public platform. The wind moved through her silver hair. Below, people watched. Some alien, some human, some unsure. She said nothing. She didn't need to. Her presence was the message. Micah stood at the edge of the crowd. He watched her in the sun. The girl they buried, the truth they tried to silence, and the voice they could never erase. She turned slowly and looked toward him. Their eyes met. No words. Just a nod. Just a promise. I'm still here, and I'm not going back underground. She didn't rise in rage. She rose in truth, and the galaxy was finally ready to listen.